The invitation. Marcus Sullivan stared at the cream-colored envelope on his desk, the elegant calligraphy announcing his brother's upcoming nuptials like a harbinger of familial interrogations to come. As the oldest Sullivan son, still unmarried at 35, Marcus knew exactly what awaited him at Ethan's wedding. His mother's thinly veiled concern, awkward conversations with elderly relatives, and the inevitable parade of single women who just happened to be seated near him at every event. His phone buzzed with a text. "Did you get it? Mom wants to know if you're bringing someone." Ethan, as always, serving as their mother's reconnaissance. Marcus sighed and typed back, "Just opened it. And no, I'll be coming solo." The response was immediate. "Mom says to call her." Of course she did. Marcus pushed back from his desk in the corner office of Sullivan and Wallace Architectural Design, the firm he'd built from scratch with his college roommate Liam Wallace. Through the glass walls he could see Liam in the conference room, charming potential clients with his signature enthusiasm, while pointing at renderings of their latest sustainable housing project. Some people, like his soon-to-be-married younger brother, seemed to navigate relationships effortlessly. Ethan had met Charlotte at a coffee shop 2 years ago, and now they were planning what his mother described as the wedding of the season. Meanwhile, Marcus hadn't had a relationship last longer than 3 months since he pushed the thought away. 7 years was long enough to have moved on from Fiona Reynolds in the way she'd disappeared from his life without warning or explanation. His phone rang. Catherine Sullivan was nothing if not persistent. "Hello, Mother," Marcus answered, trying to keep the resignation from his voice. "Marcus, darling, did you receive Ethan's invitation? Isn't the paper quality divine? Charlotte selected it herself. It's very nice. I'm looking forward to it. Wonderful. Now about your +1, here it came." Marcus pinched the bridge of his nose. "I'm not bringing anyone, Mom." "Nonsense," Catherine dismissed. "The wedding is 4 months away. Surely you can find someone to accompany you. You know Charlotte's godmother has a lovely daughter who just finished her residency at Mayo Clinic. I could arrange—" "Mom, please," Marcus interrupted. "I don't need you to arrange anything." "Marcus, it's been 7 years since that girl left. Don't you think it's time—" "I date, Mom," he said sharply. Then, because he couldn't bear another round of Catherine's matchmaking attempts, he added impulsively, "In fact, I am seeing someone." The lie hung in the air between them. Marcus mentally kicked himself. Really? His mother's voice brightened with interest. "Who is she? What does she do? How long has this been going on?" Marcus scrambled for details. "It's, fairly new. I'm not ready to share much yet. But you'll bring her to the wedding? All the events? The rehearsal dinner, welcome party, and Sunday brunch? 4 full days of pretending to be in a relationship with a non-existent woman. Fantastic, of course," he heard himself say. "Looking forward to it." After extracting promises to bring his mystery date to their monthly family dinner soon, Catherine finally ended the call. Marcus dropped his head into his hands just as Liam entered the office. "Successful client meeting?" Marcus asked without looking up. "Signed and delivered," Liam confirmed. "They loved the sustainable materials pitch." "What's wrong with you? You look like someone canceled your favorite building project." "Worse." Ethan's wedding invitation arrived. Liam dropped into the chair across from Marcus's desk. "How the dreaded Sullivan family interrogation awaits. Let me guess, your mother is already planning to seat you next to every eligible woman in New England?" "I told her I'm bringing a date." Liam's eyebrows shot up. "You're not seeing anyone? Unless you've been holding out on me." "I panicked," Marcus admitted. "She started talking about setting me up with Charlotte's godmother's daughter. So now you need to produce a girlfriend in time for the wedding." Liam's expression turned thoughtful. "You could hire someone. There are services for this kind of thing." Marcus shook his head. "I'm not hiring an escort to pretend to be my girlfriend at my brother's wedding." "Not an escort. A professional date. Completely different. Still not happening." Liam shrugged. "Then find someone real. 4 months is plenty of time to meet someone." Marcus thought of his last several first dates, polite conversations that led nowhere, the subtle comparison he couldn't help making to a woman with auburn hair and a laugh that used to make his heart race. "I'll figure it out," he said, changing the subject. "How's the Northside development coming along?" The workday progressed with blueprints and client calls. The wedding invitation temporarily forgotten. By 7 that evening, Marcus's stomach reminded him he'd worked through lunch. The client dinner he'd planned had been canceled last minute. leaving him with a rare free evening. On impulse, he decided to try the new restaurant that had been generating buzz in the local food scene. Harvest Table had opened 6 months ago and already earned a reputation for innovative farm-to-table cuisine that was nearly impossible to get a reservation for. Luck might be on his side tonight. Sometimes restaurants kept bar seating for walk-ins. Harvest Table occupied a renovated industrial space in what had once been the city's warehouse district. The transformation was impressive. Exposed brick walls softened by hanging plants. The original support beams repurposed into rustic design elements. As an architect, Marcus appreciated the thoughtful preservation of the building's character. The host informed him that while the dining room was fully booked, there was indeed a seat available at the chef's counter, a front-row view of the kitchen in action. Marcus accepted gratefully. He settled onto his stool, watching the choreographed precision of the kitchen staff. The head chef moved with authority among her team, tasting sauces, adjusting presentations, calling out orders. There was something familiar about the way she carried herself, the tilt of her head as she examined a plate. When she turned to hand a dish to a server, Marcus felt the air leave his lungs. Fiona Reynolds. 7 years older than when he'd last seen her, but unmistakably Fiona. Her auburn hair was shorter now, pulled back in a practical knot. A small scar marked her right forearm, new, and fine lines had formed at the corners of her eyes. But her focused expression, the way her hands moved confidently through her craft, the slight furrow between her brows when she concentrated, these were all achingly familiar. She hadn't noticed him yet. Marcus considered leaving before she could, preserving what remained of his pride. But as he shifted to stand, her eyes flicked up, scanning the counter seats, and froze when they landed on him. Recognition, shock, and something unreadable flashed across her face in quick succession. For a breathless moment, they simply stared at each other across the expanse of the kitchen. Then, with visible effort, Fiona composed herself. She murmured something to her sous chef and disappeared through the swinging door to the back of the restaurant. Marcus sat motionless, his appetite gone. The woman who had vanished from his life without a word 7 years ago, the woman he had planned to propose to, was here. Not just in his city, but apparently thriving as the chef of one of the most talked-about new restaurants. "Mr. Sullivan?" A server appeared at his elbow, looking apologetic. "Chef Reynolds would like to know if you'd prefer to be seated elsewhere. Or perhaps you'd like the check for your drink." She was trying to get rid of him. After 7 years, she couldn't even face him. Anger, an emotion he thought he'd worked through years ago, surged unexpectedly. "Actually," Marcus said, meeting the server's eyes, "please tell Chef Reynolds I'd be happy to stay right here. I'm looking forward to experiencing her acclaimed cuisine firsthand." The server hesitated, then nodded. "Of course, sir. Chef Reynolds will be preparing your meal personally." As the server walked away, Marcus took a long sip of his water, steeling himself. Through the kitchen window, he could see Fiona return, her shoulders set with determination as she began assembling a plate with precise, almost aggressive movements. This wasn't how he'd imagined their paths crossing again, if he'd allowed himself to imagine it at all. But as the first course appeared before him, presented by a different server with a carefully neutral expression, Marcus realized the universe had a perverse sense of timing. His brother's wedding invitation sat in his apartment. He needed a date, and the woman who had broken his heart was standing 20 feet away, stubbornly refusing to acknowledge him while creating what might be the most exquisite meal he'd ever tasted. Life, Marcus thought as he took his first bite, had a twisted sense of humor. The proposition Marcus returned to Harvest Table the following evening, determined to speak with Fiona directly. He waited until closing time, then approached as she exited through the back door. 7 years without a word. "And now you're avoiding me in your own restaurant," he said. Fiona startled, then composed herself. "Marcus, I wasn't expecting you to come back. We need to talk." Reluctantly, she led him to a small office upstairs. The tension between them was palpable as they sat across from each other. "I'm sorry for how I left," Fiona began. "I should have." "I didn't come for an apology," Marcus interrupted. "I came because I found out something interesting today. You're catering my brother Ethan's wedding." Fiona's eyes widened. "The Sullivan Pierce wedding." "That's your brother?" "Small world," Marcus said dryly. "Which puts us in an awe." Opening wounds. The welcome dinner at Marcus's family estate was a test of their acting abilities. Catherine Sullivan embraced Fiona warmly, clearly delighted by her son's new girlfriend. Marcus never brings anyone home, Catherine confided as they helped arrange flowers. Not since, she stopped abruptly. Since what? Fiona asked, though she already knew the answer. Catherine sighed. There was someone years ago. He was going to propose, but she left without explanation. He never really recovered. Fiona's hands trembled as she placed a rose in the centerpiece. That evening, as guests mingled on the terrace, Marcus played his part perfectly, his hand at the small of Fiona's back, his smile genuine as he introduced her as the talented chef who's stolen my heart. The lie felt dangerously close to truth. After the dinner, they walked in the gardens, maintaining their charade until they were alone. Your mother mentioned you were going to propose, Fiona said quietly. Marcus stiffened. I had the ring in my pocket the night I came home to find your apartment empty. I didn't know. Would it have changed anything? Fiona stared at the stars. I got an offer to train under Chef Laurent in Paris. Once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You were just starting your firm, working 80-hour weeks. I didn't think you'd understand giving up everything for my dream. You never gave me the chance, Marcus said bitterly. You just decided for both of us. I was 25 and terrified, Fiona admitted. Afraid you'd ask me to stay. Afraid I'd say yes and resent you later. So instead, you disappeared without a word. Before Fiona could respond, Ethan appeared, calling them back to the house, leaving their conversation unfinished and wounds freshly reopened. True feelings. The day of the wedding arrived with blue skies and unresolved tension. Marcus and Fiona had barely spoken since their confrontation in the garden, maintaining their pretense only when necessary. During the ceremony, watching his brother exchange heartfelt vows with Charlotte, Marcus found himself glancing at Fiona. She sat beside him in a deep green dress that brought out the flecks of gold in her eyes, looking as affected by the ceremony as he felt. At the reception, they danced together, maintaining their cover story. Fiona's hand felt small in his, her body close enough that he could smell the faint scent of rosemary and lemon that always lingered on her skin. Your family loves you very much, she observed. They do, Marcus agreed, which is why I've never told them what really happened between us. They think you got a job opportunity overseas. Fiona looked up, surprised. You protected me. I didn't want them to hate the person I loved. The past tense hung between them like a question. Later, Fiona overheard Marcus speaking with Catherine near the bar. She's wonderful, darling, his mother was saying. Successful, beautiful, clearly adores you. She's built something impressive, Marcus replied. Her dedication to her craft is extraordinary. But, Catherine prompted. Marcus hesitated, but nothing. If I had a regret, it's that I wasn't more supportive of ambitious women in the past, too focused on my own goals. When Fiona slipped away, she was blinking back tears. As the reception ended, Marcus found her on the venue's balcony, looking out at the moonlit garden. Did you mean what you said to your mother? She asked without turning around. Every word, Fiona faced him. This was supposed to be pretend. I know, Marcus said quietly, but I'm finding it increasingly difficult to remember that. Second chances. They met at a coffee shop the morning after the wedding, both exhausted from maintaining their charade and from the emotional toll of confronting their past. One more event, Marcus said, stirring his Americano. The farewell brunch, then we're done. Fiona nodded, but neither seemed relieved by this fact. I've been thinking about what you said, she began hesitantly, about not giving you the chance to understand my opportunity. And I've been thinking about what you said about being afraid, Marcus replied. You were right to pursue your dream. I just wish you'd trusted me enough to talk about it. Fiona met his eyes. Would you have supported me going to Paris? Honestly, probably not then. I was too selfish, too focused on building my firm, on us building a life according to my blueprint. And now, Marcus considered the question. Now I understand that real love means supporting each other's dreams, even when they take you in different directions. They fell silent, both contemplating what might have been and what still could be. I haven't been able to make a relationship work since you, Fiona admitted. Everyone I've dated has been measured against what we had. Me too, Marcus confessed. So where does that leave us? Marcus reached across the table, cautiously taking her hand. Maybe we start over, properly this time. No pretending, no rushing, no assumptions about what the other person wants. We're different people now, Fiona said. Exactly. Maybe these versions of us could work better together. At the farewell brunch, Catherine pulled Fiona aside. I don't know what happened between you and Marcus in the past, she said knowingly. But I recognize the way you look at each other. Let's not pretend. Fiona's shock must have been evident because Catherine laughed. My dear, I've known since the moment I saw you together. I just hope you both get it right this time. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the kitchen of Harvest Table after closing, watching Fiona prepare a special meal. The plans for your second location are finalized, he said, sliding the architectural drawings across the counter. Construction starts next month. Fiona examined the designs, a beautiful space he had created specifically for her culinary vision. It's perfect, she said, coming around the counter to stand beside him. Not quite yet, Marcus replied, pulling a small box from his pocket. I've been carrying this for 7 years, waiting for the right moment. Fiona's eyes widened as he opened it to reveal a simple diamond ring. I'm not proposing, not yet, he clarified. But I wanted you to know that when the time is right, when we're both ready, I have this. For a second chance, Fiona whispered, leaning up to kiss him softly. For building something new, Marcus agreed, with room for both our dreams.